Carsten Müller-Tidow is a doctor and a scientist. As a doctor, he treats patients suffering from leukemia or other blood cancers at the Heidelberg University Hospital. As a scientist, he tries to fill knowledge gaps and improve existing therapies.
Two things about stem cells fascinate me. One is the research, that is, to discover and understand how different blood cells arise from a single stem cell and how this happens in the body, and how this can actually last a lifetime. And the other is that today we can use stem cells to help patients and actually cure them with such a therapy.
Leukemia is a blood cancer in which blood stem cells mutate into leukemia stem cells. These produce increased numbers of blood progenitor cells, which do not mature and are not functional. The leukemia cells spread within the bone marrow and interfere with normal blood formation. As a result, the blood no longer transports sufficient oxygen and loses its wound-healing function. For many blood cancer patients, a blood stem cell transplant is a last resort. That was also the case for this patient, who unexpectedly developed the illness in 2009.
I found out about it during an alpine crossing with a group that I had led over the Alps on mountain bikes. My hematologist called me there and told me to come to his practice immediately, and that it was cancer. Then I had chemo for half a year, and afterwards I went regularly to the checkups. After 5 years, we discovered that it was back. And at that point, my hematologist in Aschaffenburg called Professor Dreger here in the clinic and made an appointment for me and got it all going.
It was quickly clear to his attending physician Peter Dreger that the patient urgently needed a blood stem cell transplant.
The disease was indeed a systemic cancer of the blood, or the lymphatic system, which can be cured in some patients with chemotherapy. But he had a relapse, and the prognosis is generally very bad then. That's why the transplant was necessary.
A blood stem cell transplant requires a donor whose bone marrow genetically matches that of the patient. Stem cells are then taken from the donor's blood. The patient receives these after their defective immune system has been suppressed, allowing their body to accept the new blood stem cells. Stem cells are needed in the blood system for the daily formation of millions of new blood cells. Stem cells live in bone marrow and produce many different types of white and red blood cells.
The biggest risk is an excessive immune response when the newly transplanted immune system, which is supposed to fight the tumor, also attacks other organs and causes damage to them. That could be potentially life-threatening.
Scientist Carsten Müller-Tidow wants to improve existing therapies with his research.
We are looking for better therapies for leukemia. An important part of that research is stem cells. For example, we alter stem cells so that they're no longer affected by certain leukemia therapies. A big problem in the treatment of leukemia is today's therapies quite often affect healthy cells as well as leukemia cells. But we only want to target the leukemic cells. We're working on using genome editing to alter stem cells so that they're no longer affected by leukemia therapies. And in this way, we can administer more and better therapies, and very specifically destroy leukemia cells. And this clearly goes hand in hand with the newly approved gene therapies that already exist, with which we are able to program blood cells with so-called CAR T cells, chimeric antigen receptors, to precisely target tumor cells.
Müller-Tidow's vision has already become part of reality in Heidelberg. In a special clean room laboratory, a patient's immune cells are genetically modified to attack cancer cells. The patient receives the cell transplant. This tube contains the hope for a life-saving therapy. If all goes well, the killer cells will completely destroy the cancer cells and thereby stop the disease in its tracks.
Stem cell therapies are a great hope for people because they're connected to the idea that one can regenerate various organs, not just blood, but also the heart, liver, brain, maybe everything in some way. And we know from other organisms that it does work. Perhaps one possibility is to program blood stem cells to take over other tasks, or enable regeneration, or prevent certain damages. There are very many ideas.